Are you looking for a cheap game to play with your friends? Or maybe you're just into Vikings, base building, or just want to explore an open world and goof off with your friends? If so, then you're in the right place. Hi, my name is Ice, and this is Valheim. And of course, if you appreciate the content and you want to see more content, please subscribe, give me a like, give me a comment. I'd love to see what you think about the video, or the game, or any other games. Thank you for watching as always, and let's move on. Now, I just want to get some of the technical stuff out of the way. The game is only 1.6 gigabytes. How fantastic. I love that. I can play the game, and I can have other games on my computer without being punished for it. Now, on the other side of things, when it comes to performance, it performs pretty well. Now, my PC is upper middle class. I'll leave the specs in the description below, and you'll be able to kind of, pick apart my machine and see if anything I'm saying is applicable. But personally, I usually value performance over graphic fidelity. So I put most of my settings to medium, some on low, and some of them I put on high. I just kind of judged it on what I cared about. And I also put a frame limiter on mine at 85 frames per second. So my computer runs the game consistently at about 80 FPS. If I change one of the lighting settings, then it gets kind of choppier. But for the most part, if you monitor your performance and change some of the settings, you can get it running pretty stable. There isn't any ray tracing, though they do have some really nice lighting effects in this game, I will say, even though it looks, like vomit. But hey, graphics don't matter that much, do they? Otherwise, my friend has a 1660 Ti in his computer. He says he doesn't experience any lag. So, performance-wise, it should work fine. Now, bugs are a different issue, but I'll get to those later. Let me bring up some of the good points first. So the first thing you'll notice coming into this game is going to be customization. Now, the character customizer is not super robust. It's very lightweight, but you do have some really good hair options and quite a few beard options as well. You can color your hair and your skin how you see fit. Once you've got your character sorted, you're ready to dive into the world. Now, I will say, this is a procedurally generated map. You will have a completely different world every time you start a new one, and within that world you have procedurally generated dungeons, which will be between, as far as I've seen at least, it'll be between burial chambers and troll caves. And they're both pretty self-explanatory for what you'll see in them, but they are imperative to your gaming experience here because they'll have special materials inside that you will need for further progression. Now, otherwise, the actual exploration, despite it being a procedurally generated world, is so fun. I cannot understate how fun this game is, especially with friends. Even single player, it's still a good time, especially if you like base building or just managing like a farm or something. I really love that personally. But the game is founded entirely on intuitive gameplay, so it rewards you drastically for just wanting to explore, for just being eager to see what the world has for you. You'll find these new materials that I was mentioning before, and they will unlock new recipes. You'll be able to craft new tools, workstations, accessories, whatever, you name it. It's kind of like a very stark contrast to a game like Minecraft, where your entire crafting catalog is given to you the moment you start. So instead of being able to open up that crafting menu and seeing what you need to get this piece of thing, whatever you're trying to get after, you don't know. So you're left kind of looking everywhere for something, and you just end up chipping away at that foundation. And as you move on through the ages, because the game kind of goes from like Stone Age, Bronze Age to Iron Age, you just feel so rewarded for just playing. And that's one of the biggest things that you need in a video game. If there's no satisfaction loop where you're going out, putting hours into a game, and you're not coming back out of it with something new, some type of fun experience, something you can look back on at the time that you invested in the game and say, yeah, this happened, and I can tell you exactly how it happened, when it happened, it's a bad game. It's a bad game, but this one is great, and I haven't even gotten to the mechanics yet. They're not too crazy, honestly. It's pretty run-of-the-mill for what you'd expect out of the genre, but bear with me. Now, as for mechanics, I'll touch on progression first. So in this game, you don't have a traditional leveling system. You don't have character levels, you don't have skill trees, you don't have perks. Instead, every single action that you can commit in this game will have a specific skill tied to it. So, for example, if you're using a particular weapon, well, that weapon will have a skill associated with it, and the higher your level in that skill is, the more damage you can do. Another one is jumping. You can level up your jump, and the higher your jump level is, the higher you can jump. It's very intuitive, and I think it's really fun. And with those skill levels, there are no skill requirements. As long as you can make the item, you can wield the item, you can use the item. You'll then interact with survival, and in this game, survival is super forgiving, but not in a bad way, in a really good way. Even though there is a food system in this game, you don't starve, which I think is a really nice touch, personally. It never really immerses me that I have to eat. I mean, in a game like DayZ, you get frustrated that you can't find food, right? In this game, you might not eat, and it will punish you in the sense that your health is capped super low and your stamina is capped really low. So what food does is it serves as buffs, specifically in stamina and health. So the better quality food that you have, that you find, as you play the game further, the bigger those buffs get, the more impactful they are. And you just kind of need to keep it in your head that you need to explore with that food in your inventory. And as well, down the path, you'll be able to brew meads, which kind of function like potions pretty much, giving you buffs in healing, regeneration, and resistances, which all in turn end up aiding you in combat. And on that note, the combat is actually pretty good for a survival game, I'm not gonna lie. You do function out of a third-person perspective, so you'll always kind of see like the area surrounding you and any enemies that might be piling up on top of you. But the game equips you with a nice little dodge roll, you get timed blocks, and even the classic move of just strafing backwards is pretty viable. Now, unlike Souls games, of course, I mean this is just a survival game, it's not really going to reinforce those combat mechanics through battle situations, but you will run into quite a few encounters where it would be helpful if you knew what you were doing. Combat encounters will range from these random periodic events that'll happen, and just, running through the forest and you might get jumped by a few goons, or you might happen to see an enemy that you don't think is going to be particularly challenging, and then they are. And the animations themselves are actually pretty good. You actually have a bit of weight to it. Your screen will shake. The hitboxes are actually accurate. If you pull off a move that's like a wide swing, it'll hit everything within that. As well, different weapons have completely different move sets and have different benefits, different reaches, all that fun stuff. And armor works how you'd expect. As you progress through the ages, you get better armor that has higher defensive ratings, which blocks more and more damage. I don't exactly know how that defensive multiplier works, but it's a pretty noticeable night and day difference once you finally upgrade from leather to bronze armor. Although, there are drawbacks, specifically in movement speed. Every single piece of equipment that you have in your body will typically have a negative modifier that only applies based on the equipment that you have equipped. So, for instance, if you need to move faster for a certain period of time, take off your gear, switch out your weapons to something that doesn't reduce your movement speed, and get to running. But when you're done running and you have a second to just do whatever, you'll interact mostly with base building, which is my favorite part. And there's a lot to uncover with base building, and it's pretty integral to the whole gameplay experience because you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. Mostly because a lot of your inventions or innovations that come across in the game are going to be directly due to your base. So you're going to have workstations. Currently, the only two that I've seen are the workbench and the forge. With those workstations, you then have improvements that you have to craft that allows you to create higher quality gear. And as well, with the higher quality gear, you can also upgrade lower quality gear to a higher standard. And for the most part, those upgrades are going to give you the ability to craft tools and weapons, armor. Specifically, clubs, spears, knives, swords, maces, hammers, polearms, bows, tower shields, round shields, bucklers, something that kind of looks like a kite shield. You'll have tunics, pants, cuirasses, greaves, and helmets, even capes, and the capes even have physics, which I think is pretty cool. But if you're anything like me, the coolest part is the building, and the building in this game is really good. The game gives you a very long leash on clipping. There's pretty much no instances where if you have something colliding with a different prefab, it'll stop you from putting it down. It gives you a lot of freedom, and me personally, I'm very much a builder type of guy. I've never been that in like Minecraft or anything, but in this game you just get so much freedom to just throw stuff together. I honestly don't even make that many structures that look like a Viking would like live in it, you know, but I just think it's really cool and it's really fun. Now that we're done with mechanics, we can start discussing the good and the bad. Personally, I haven't felt this excited to play a video game daily in quite a long time. Even though I 100%ed Elden Ring and it got a good 300 hours out of me, there were even moments on that game where I just didn't really want to play. And if you've played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This game evokes that giddy excitement when you discover something new and you just want to put it into practice. Just as an example, we spotted that we could craft a boat, not a raft, a long boat. So now, I'm more of a builder type of guy. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna cut a trail with my hoe down to a river, make a little hut, slap in some chests, then make some docks, and we can set up for boats. Maybe have a little fishing spot, put on some stools, maybe a bench. You know, I'm thinking about how I can dress this all up, and it's not even like it's relevant or pertinent. It's just fun. And then I discovered portals. We can fast travel. What? So I make this little gazebo thing, and on top of it I'm thinking, how can I decorate it? How can I make it something special? So I see that you can make an ornamental like dragon type head thing. So I make kind of like a little dragon out of these random prefabs that I find. I kind of make these things that looks almost like wings. I make a really cruddy looking tail, and then I build up a little neck, put on the dragon head, and boom, there you go. And now every time that I get on, I'll see the smoke emanating from our cooking shack, or well, now it's kind of like a big hall, but they'll see the smoke emanating, and I'll just get this angle where I'm coming up from the forge and I'm just looking at the dragon head, and in the dark of the night you just see the smoke rising, and it looks so cool. I love it. I love it. I think this game is a smash hit. And I haven't had a craving for a game like this in a very, very long time. And really the only game that I can think of that made me feel something like this was back when I had a PS2, when I was playing this game called Harvest Moon: A New Beginning. If you haven't played it and you can get it on an emulator, I highly suggest you do. I haven't touched this game since, I don't know, maybe 2009. But I still have the game in its case. I just don't have a PS2 anymore. I need to get one. But the only thing that this game is missing from that is pretty much NPC interaction and like a cohesive story. But that's neither here nor there. What's really going on at that game, what I loved about it, was the base management. Managing the farm. Getting these new cows. Getting some chickens. Going fishing. Building up your farm so you have these new stables and such. It's just so fulfilling to me to build up that stuff and just see it all grow and culminate from the very first moment you start the game. Now, I'd refrain from calling it a masterpiece, but I do not say these things lightly, I promise you. I am cynical and I am very pessimistic, but this game is really good. This game is great. This game is as close as you can get without even being like a single player game, without being a game that has truly mind-boggling lore, you know, in the way that a game like The Elder Scrolls might draw you in a way that Dark Souls might draw you in. It definitely is missing that factor, but even without it, it's just so intriguing. It's so fun. I know I've said it a million times. It is fun. It is so fun. Get the game. Play it with your friends. I promise you, you will not have a dull moment. And not only that, it is very consumable. You can get on this game, play it for an hour, and feel satisfied. It's not one of those games that's going to draw you into it and make you play several hours to feel like you're moving somewhere. Ideally, all you do when you get on is you pick up some more resources at least, so the next time you get on, you're ready to roll even more. It's so fun. It's so fun. I love it. I love it. I wouldn't give this game a 10, I probably wouldn't give it a 9 just yet. I really want to see what the end game looks like. I haven't gotten that far, admittedly. So as far as I've gotten, I'd probably throw it a bone and give it an 8.5 out of 10 as of right now. But all that glitters is not gold. There are definitely some bugs. Now, me personally, the only bugs that I've experienced so far have been physics related, I guess, that I wouldn't really dock points for. Like if you get on the wrong side of a door and open it up and you're next to a wall, the door will push you through the wall. I wouldn't call it a bug, but it's a bit of an inconvenience at times. Aside from that, my friends are the people who experience the bugs the most. I'm usually the server host, so I don't think I would experience the bugs normally, but they seem to be network related. So what generally happens is one of my friends will play the game, and after some random period of time, they might be disconnected. And then when they get disconnected, they also get rolled back. I don't know exactly how the autosave works in this game, but it doesn't seem to be super responsive or work that well because the rollbacks usually hit pretty hard. Otherwise, it seems to work pretty fine. I haven't heard anything from them about stability problems, although those network concerns can be further exacerbated by the console port that's coming out. As far as I know, the company who is developing the game is not working on the port, so I don't know if that's going to affect the quality at all. I do have a favorable amount of trust for these developers because they've done such an amazing job with the game, but even despite the bugs and stuff, they are putting out patches that address stability and optimization concerns. So I personally have full confidence in the devs, to the point that I literally bought the game on Steam even though I don't play the game on Steam. I just wanted to give them my money. Now, as for availability, it is available on Steam. It has been for the last 2 or so years. I'm a dummy for not getting it earlier, honestly. But otherwise, it is also on Game Pass. Now, by the time this video comes out, the console port should be out, so it'll be on PC and Xbox. And the game is cross-platform, which means that you can play it with the Steam version to the Windows version, or Windows with Xbox, Steam with Xbox, whatever. But as far as I know, it doesn't seem like they have plans to put it on PlayStation 5 just yet. I might be wrong, but I just didn't see any specific indicator from the article saying, yeah, this is coming to PlayStation 5. So, if you want to play this game and you have a PlayStation 5, I recommend you get a PC. Otherwise, if you can get your hands on the game, I highly recommend it. If you have Game Pass, again, just pick up the game. There's absolutely no risk, only reward. And otherwise, if you do need to buy the game, or if you like owning games, it's only $20, and I can tell you right now that $20 would be very, very well spent. I know my opinion might not mean much, but trust me on this one, and maybe you'll come back to the channel to hear even more takes. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great day and have a fun time on Valheim. Bye-bye.